Learn how to create, sustain, and scale up your print-on-demand business with the latest tips, guides, and strategies to help you start selling and making money today. Welcome to the Sales on Demand Show. And here's your host, Adam Schneider.
Good morning, Starshine. The Earth says hello. Welcome back, everybody. Episode 26. Exactly 1/2 year podcasting. It is Monday, June the 9th? 10th. Yeah, I know what day it is. It is almost summertime, and you're probably seeing the very last of your Father's Day sales coming through Etsy and Amazon. And you're probably thinking, well, what's next? Summer is going to be slow. This is normal. It is perfectly ordinary. That doesn't mean that there aren't potential sales. So today, I'm going to talk about the 3 priorities that you should focus on over summertime so that you can, A, make some sales over the summer, and B, get ready for Christmas, which is basically anything. We call it Christmas. It's actually Q4, which is the last 3 months of the year, the best 3 months of the year, the part of the year where all of the work that you've done up until this point comes and either it pays off or it doesn't pay off, or it might pay off in a middling kind of way, so in between. So when I started 2 years ago, I had high expectations for my very first Christmas. I started selling in March, and I think that I expected to be like full-time, like making thousands and thousands of dollars a month by about November. So needless to say, my expectations were not in line with the actual what happened. So obviously I didn't start making thousands of dollars in November, but I wasn't ready for that kind of selling yet. I would have gone broke trying to sell out that many, or trying to send out that much product at a time. And actually what's kind of holding me back right now is cash flow. So I have 3 priorities this summer, and I'll talk about my priorities, and then I'll tell you some basic things that you can do to keep yourself on track over the warm and possibly hot, delightful summer months. So, what's happening? Well, for me, Father's Day was a bit lackluster, and that's because a lot of the things that I ordered to be sent to Amazon for Father's Day did not arrive in time, and that is not unusual. When things get busy, the supplier that I have is not able to send these products in a timely fashion. It's just the way it goes. So next year, obviously, I'm going to be much, much faster. I'm going to be looking for those trends, and I'm going to be acting on them in April, because otherwise the stock might not get there in time. So I actually ordered and requested these to be shipped on May 1st, and they're still not there yet. So it's a bit of a pain, because I know that they would sell. But, well, what can you do, right? So as far as the podcast, I'm constantly having new people come and listen to the podcast. So if this is your first time, I invite you, go back and listen to some of the older episodes. I have an entire series on getting started, and it's all free. I don't charge anything for this information. I'm giving it away to you for free. So go and take advantage of it. If you look back in the available episodes, you'll see it probably February, March time of year. Episodes like between 3 and 9, I think. Those are the getting started ones. Have a listen. None of that information is out of date. It's all very useful information that you can act on today. So I also realized that I have literally done absolutely nothing to market this podcast. And I call myself a marketer. So I should probably start actually creating some marketing materials and doing some Facebook and Instagram and Google, I guess, There's so many different ways to market, a show or a podcast or a YouTube channel, and I have just been kind of relying on organic traffic, which has actually worked out really nicely in my favor. But if you want to grow something, organic traffic is great. It's a great way to start, but it's not the only way to do things. And why would you just stick with organic traffic when there's so much potential through paid traffic? No matter what you're selling, if you're selling print-on-demand products, if you're selling, some kind of service that you perform for people, it doesn't matter what you're selling. Having some paid traffic is always a good idea. It is a little bit more difficult than relying on organic traffic, but it's instant. You can really grow your business fast when you rely on paid advertising. So, one thing that you should be doing at this time of year is to start looking back at how you've done so far this year. Look at your clicks. Look at your sales. Look at your favorites. I mean, for me, I look at every day as it comes through, and it's hard to see the trends when you're just looking at your daily sales or your weekly sales. So look back and see what people are clicking on, and if you see something that's getting a lot of clicks and no sales, it means that that's a good niche to make more products in, because maybe people are clicking on it and not buying it because they don't like the design or something like that, or they don't like the phrase, or they don't like the price, which is actually not very likely. Price is not a huge factor, and I keep telling people that. It's not a huge factor in this kind of thing. So here is some trends to watch out for the summer. So, summer activities: camping, fishing, boating, quadding, mudding, hiking, climbing, gardening. And that's just everything I could think of in like 7 seconds here. There's probably way more things than that, like trout fishing. I mean, get specific with these kinds of things. RVing. Anything that you can think of that's a summer activity. There are people out there who are passionate about it, and they want to tell the world that they are passionate about this thing. So go out there and make designs that relate to that. And remember, the trend is your friend. So trending things tend to sell well when they are trending. So your summer activities are going to start selling well. The kids are going to start getting out of school. That's another good one. Every parent at the end of summer is going to be celebrating the fact that their kids are going back to school. And they're going to be giving gifts to their teachers, either before the end of school or after the end of school. So that's a great trend to jump in on, is teacher gifts. Now, I've noticed that teacher gifts tend to be beginning of summer. Beginning of the school year. People tend to buy gifts for teachers. And I'm not sure why that is, but definitely take advantage of that. So anything that's a gift for a teacher is going to be something that's coming up pretty quick. And as if you're a parent, you probably know, just as well as I do, that summer lasts like 30 minutes and the school year lasts like 7 years. So, this summer is going to fly by really quickly, and you're going to have to be ready for the winter selling period. And like I said, if you're sending stock to FBA for Amazon, you got to send that in early. With many suppliers, the deadline is basically in October. So you should know what you're trying to sell, and you should have your stock at least picked out and ready to ship by the end of October at the very, very, very latest. I'm going to be working on this in September, and even right now. So customization, still excellent. People love customized gifts. It is so hot on Etsy. Customized stuff. Customized water bottles. I have never seen anybody doing customized water bottles. Now, there is one more holiday coming up. It's not a Mother's Day, Father's Day scale holiday, but it is a holiday, and it's the 4th of July and the 1st of July if you're Canadian. It's basically the celebration of the existence of our region called country. Canada, and the United States. I think Americans are a little bit more sort of patriotic about that kind of thing. Canadians tend to be a little more low-key. You know, we might buy a little Canadian flag, put it on our backpack, but Americans will literally drape their house with like a flag the size of a battleship. No, I'm kidding. But no, it's an excellent holiday to start making products for, and I would suggest starting with t-shirts for the 4th of July. And remember that when you make a design or you buy a design, you should upload it to as many different platforms as possible. So if you're selling on merch by Amazon, also upload that sucker to Etsy and then upload it to Amazon as a print-on-demand item, not just a merch item. Then upload it to Redbubble. Upload it to everywhere. I mean, take advantage. When you pay for or you create, you do the work to make a design. Don't just list it on one platform, because you're wasting your time. You can make so much more money by expanding your reach. All right, so let's get into the meat and potatoes of today's episode. So, something that I talked about before is making a plan. Yeah, make a plan. But do you remember how to do that? Well, hopefully you remember the acronym that I gave you. And the acronym is SMART. Not the Homer Simpson version, where he forgot the A, but S-M-A-R-T. And in case you forgot, I will quickly run through it again. So when you set an objective and you make a plan, write it down on paper and make sure it is S specific. Make it simple and clear. Articulate why it's important and who or what is involved. So a specific goal is to say, I have a weekly goal of launching 100 new designs every week. So M, it should be measurable. Track your progress and set small checkpoints along the way. A, it has to be achievable. So to say to yourself, well, I'm going to list 1,000 designs a week. That's not achievable. I mean, it is achievable, but it's probably not achievable for most people who are doing this. That's a lot. Even 100 is quite a reach. So 1,000 is probably out of the range of most people. So make it a goal that's actually achievable and that you know that you could do it if you discipline yourself to actually sit down and do it. Now, leave some room in this for missing a week or two or something like that. And then you won't fall behind. So R, your goals should be relevant. Now, this is a little bit more difficult because obviously sitting down and making a bunch of designs is absolutely relevant to this kind of business. But where I would apply this is make sure that your goals include going back and looking at the data that you've already gotten. And I keep seeing this. People are like, oh man, I've got 3,000 listings on Amazon and I hardly make any sales. And then you ask them, well, what are you selling? Like, what's doing well for you? And they're like, oh, I don't know. They don't really know what's already doing well, so they don't know how to improve their listings and their designs. They're just sort of throwing things up in the air, which is fine. But once you start making a few sales, it's much more effective for you to go and say, see what's selling, and then start making designs that meet those trends instead of just randomly doing things. So the last thing, the T, is that your objective has to be time-bound. You got to have a deadline for this. So a weekly plan is a time-bound plan. Now, you have to pick a day for this. If you're going to say, well, I want to list 100 items a week, then that means you got to set aside probably an entire day to sit down and do the work that's required to make that happen. And it means you got to pick a specific day of the week. And you got to be like, that's my day. Wednesday, that's my day. For me, this week, I've got Thursday and Friday. Those are my days to do the work that I need to be doing. So that is time-bound. So the next thing, that was all one point, by the way. the SMART. That's make a plan, write it down. So the next thing that you do is you got to pick a step one. If you're a new seller, this is vitally important. And a lot of new sellers, they get overwhelmed by the sheer potential of what can be done. And they're like, I don't know what to do first. And that's totally fine. Now, if you're sitting there and you're like, I don't know what to do first, and you don't have anything, obviously the first thing that you need to do is you need to open up some accounts with Amazon or Etsy. So that's probably your step one if you're a new seller. If you already have accounts open and you already have a few designs listed, you're definitely well ahead of the game plan. So step one could be sitting down, opening up your PicMonkey, and just start creating. That's a step one. Then you download it, upload it to a Gearbubble or whatever print-on-demand platform you're using, and start listing it. So the very last thing that I want to suggest for you to get ahead this summer is get back to the basics. Don't be distracted by shiny new things. And I'm talking to myself just as much as anybody here, because I do get distracted by shiny things. I get distracted by social media a lot. I like to talk to people. So, unfortunately, talking to people doesn't pay any money. At least not, what I'm doing right here. So, if you're going to do something, make sure that you're making the most of it. So, getting back to myself, I have this platform, I have this podcast, and I need to make the most of this podcast. So I need to grow the audience. I need to keep working on the product that I'm working on, the course that I'm working on. I need to perfect that course, and I need to launch it. So when you've picked what you're going to do, let's say you're like, I want to work on Etsy. Sit down and commit to grow that. So pick your best platform and commit over this year to growing that platform. If you're a new seller, it is not very difficult to sell on Etsy. Etsy is great. It is extremely user-friendly, especially for people who are not tech-friendly. Amazon is really not extremely techy, but it can be kind of techy, especially when you start talking about listings, parent listing, child listings, variations, all that kind of stuff. People sort of glaze over when they start trying to deal with that. Etsy is way easier than that. So start with Etsy, work your way up to Amazon, but don't think, I have to pick one or the other. You can do both. Amazon is sort of a long game, and it can grow much, much higher than Etsy. Etsy is the kind of thing that you can keep working on day by day, and the amount of work you put into it daily will pay off daily. All of the people that I know that are really killing it on Etsy are the ones that sit down and do daily things with Etsy. I don't have a ton of time set aside for that, so Etsy for me is my second best platform. So pick your best platform and commit to growing that one. Once you get to 6 months in, a year in as a seller, then you can start working on both. But never overwhelm yourself by trying to do both things at once, because you're never going to be as effective at doing two things at once as you are at doing one thing at a time. And I always say to people, you should have multiple income streams. I have multiple income streams, which is not including my job. I have multiple e-commerce income streams, but I still sit down and I work on my best platform most of all. So that is it, guys. Once again, our sponsor is the Low Hanging System. You can join up with the Low Hanging System. It's how I got started in this e-commerce game. In my opinion, if you take my opinion seriously, I think that of all the courses out there teaching you print on demand, the Low Hanging System is the easiest one to get started in. The bonuses include 1 year free integration between Gearbubble, Amazon, Etsy, and eBay. that is worth the price of the course in and of itself. If you just went today, signed up for Gear Bubble, and you wanted to be connected to Amazon to upload your products, you would have to pay about $300 a year to make that happen. So the low-hanging system course is $300. It includes those integrations free of charge for a year. Plus you get access to the Facebook page, and yours truly, this guy with 2 thumbs, he's in there all the time talking to new sellers, and I get people messaging me all the time, and I'll answer. I really will. And, the Facebook page probably is another like $500 value, because you're constantly hearing about new things that are happening, issues with Amazon. If something stops working, that's where it gets posted first. So, again, if you're a new seller and you're already part of the low-hanging system, make sure you check that Facebook page frequently, because all kinds of stuff is posted there. If something stops working, somebody always posts it there first. You get the lead on this kind of information. So click the link in the description. You can join us on the low-hanging system. It's a great group. And that's it for today, guys. I'm going to go out and mow my grass like the hardcore dad bro that I am. So cheers.